What's up out there, junkies? It's your boy Kenshiro. We're back with another great episode of Culture Junkies Live. Today we're going to be talking about women in fandom and some of the misconceptions about women in fandom. We're going to talk about some of our favorite women that inspire us in our fandom, you know, whether it be Princess Leia, as you saw on the title card, whether it be Lara Croft, whether it be Samus Aran. There have been a lot of really badass women in fandom, and not even just fictional characters. We're talking about women that actually produce a lot of stuff that we like to enjoy and partake in. But first, let me introduce who's going to be on the show with me today. Leading off is Mr. GQ. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. Enjoying myself as always, and looking forward to some fun discussion today.
Yeah, where's the whole I'm doing better than everyone shtick? Where's that? Where's that?
It's not a stick. It's a way of life. I don't have to announce it every single time.
But you love to.
But that's already a given.
That's a given.
So,
I'll grant you that. Okay. All right, my friend. Glad to see you. Also joining me on the show is Mr. Fallen Marvel. How you doing today, sir?
Feeling great, feeling good. How is everyone else out there? Glad you are tuned in again. And hey, glad to be with my family away from my family. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave that one alone. Moving right along.
No, you're not family on this panel?
No, we family, but that sounded like a really loaded statement. Like you almost meant more to that, and I don't know. But I'm glad to see you always. It's like one of my favorite parts of the week is getting together with my guys and my girls, and kind of chopping it up about a bunch of different stuff in fandom. Anyway, glad to see you. Last but not least, someone who is kind of spearheading this discussion, but is also suffering from a few technical difficulties, and that would be Miss Miao Yin. How are you?
Hello, all you happy people. I am doing well. Picture my face with grace until you can actually see it. My cameras right now.
It's all good. It'll all work out. You'll be fine.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, obviously we know that this week, in fact, I don't know if they're doing it. Is it early release tomorrow or not? Maybe one of you guys can help me out with that. But obviously the re-release of Avengers Endgame, which is finally going to deliver the final blow in the reign of Avatar, comes out this weekend. How many times are you going to go see it, GQ? Speaking to you first and foremost.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to be kind of busy this weekend, so I'll see it at least once, to make sure that, because all it needs is like 39 million, I believe, to secure the top spot. So, I mean, that's very doable. Who knows if it's one of those things where like people really, really like the end credit scene and the whatever tributes they add and whatever extras they add, people might actually go see it twice, and who knows? It might actually kick it up to a potential 3 billion. Now that would be insane, but I see it at least beating Avatar this weekend.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Fallen Marvel, you gonna go check it out?
Yeah, I think at least I'm kind of like in the same boat with GQ. Like I'm definitely planning to see it at least one time. So it's it's a lot of building up I need to do because I definitely want to prepare myself for Far From Home when that comes out. So what better way to get a refresher with Endgame, legendary film?
That indeed it is. Indeed it is a legendary film.
Looks like they're putting it in IMAX over at Novi, and the seats are starting to fill up. So
yeah, we're gonna have to go ahead and get our tickets.
To cut in, I will not be watching it again. I'm that person. I have other movies to watch.
Yeah,
wow, really?
You can do both.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
You're not going to.
So what, you want Avatar to stay at the top? Is that what it is?
No, I don't care.
I just think she likes being Miss Contrarian. We're all excited, and she's like,
I legitimately don't care.
Okay, sure. All right. All right.
Well, because I am going to see, which I've been putting off, unfortunately, Men in Black International and Shaft, and I haven't seen those yet, so I'm not.
I've already seen both of those.
You don't need to go see that.
You have, but I haven't. So I mean,
Do all three.
Nope.
Why not? It's not hard.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need. But you really don't need to, though.
You're right. I don't need to go see Avengers again. You're right.
You really don't need to go see Men in Black because that thing was terrible.
Well, that's your
that
opinion.
boy is bombing.
I cannot take your opinion alone. I cannot use that as
I don't think it's just my opinion now. Come on now.
Well, Hand of Omega.
A lot of different things.
Yeah, Hand of Omega seems to think that people aren't going to do it. It's not enough hardcore fans. I'm like, you underestimate what an end credit
power of the MCU.
An end credit scene, an additional tribute, and potentially, who knows, it might even be the Luis breakdown of the MCU. So I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that they may throw in there that people are going to go see. So again, it doesn't matter. All they got to do is get 39 million this weekend. So
an end credit scene and all that other junk ain't gonna take me to go sit through that movie again. While it was good, the next time I watch the film, I'm gonna be in the comfort of my own home.
Hey, big ups to Tony Young. He's now a top fan of the page now. Does he get special perks? Does he get special perks for being a top fan?
Probably. We'll probably have to, once we get some t-shirts made up, probably have to send him one.
Oh, shuck it duck. There we go. Now we're talking about.
All right.
There we go. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I might have to grab my hand. Wait, whoa.
Whoa.
Wait, no. Oh,
what
wow. They're putting it in the Super EMAX screen.
Yeah, I expected. Well, actually, wow. Really? Wow. Okay.
Yep. So it's taking over the Super EMAX. So Toy Story 4, which just came out, is getting booted.
For a much more important movie. That's why. That's why.
Hey, it all goes to the same bank.
Yes, that's true. It all goes to the same bank. You're all right about that.
Hey, what's up, John P. over there in YouTube land?
Yep. What's up, John P? How you doing, man?
No, you're not getting a statue, Tony. That's not happening.
A statue.
Yeah, he's talking about he wants
Wait, actually, no.
Being the top fan.
But you can give him a statue of you. Will work.
No, thou shalt make no graven images of me.
But you be the one making it. Okay, well, all right. That's funny. That's funny. No, that's funny.
I'm definitely gonna have to get my ticket for Endgame pretty soon because it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you said they're already filling up.
They got a 2 p.m. show and a 6 p.m. show. So 6 p.m. is what I'm probably gonna go to.
So now this dude Hand of Omega is doubting that there's an after credit scene. What? Yes, there's an after credit scene. That was the entire purpose of them releasing this film again.
Hold on, he's saying careful reading. He says it's a deleted scene after the credits. What do you think an after credit scene is?
Exactly.
Shown after the credits.
Right. Come on, man.
Wow.
Come on, man. You better than that. You better than that. Anyway. So how's the fight over technology going over there, Miss Miayan? We're going good?
I've lost it, and I've decided to just.
There it is. Okay.
So
she's wearing her Mary Jane wig today.
I've just decided to be use my cell phone. So.
Oh, okay.
You lost the fight to technology?
Right now, yes.
Had you, I don't know, gone to see Avengers, you probably would,
That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it does. Tony Stark is an Avenger, so he could, give you some tips and pointers.
Oh, no. No sense. Ow!
Yeah.
That's funny.
So Dewan Davis says Twitter says is just a Hulk scene, but it's not just a Hulk scene. It's also there's supposed to be some kind of lead in to it's supposed to be some kind of lead in into Far From Home as well, or is it some kind of teaser or something? Right. It's not just a Hulk scene.
Dude, it could be Pepper Potts putting up the dishes. I don't care as long as Avatar falls.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right.
Seriously.
Pepper Potts putting up the dishes. Come on, man. Would you really watch that?
I don't care as long as Avatar gets number 2.
Like, would you? Okay, how about this? Would you buy a ticket and just to donate to the cause and not go and see the movie? Are you that kind of petty?
No. If I buy a ticket, I'm going to go see the movie and get my money's worth. Come on.
All right. I'm just asking. Just
I'm not sure. I am not in any way charitable. That's not me.
All right. All right. Duly noted.
All right.
Duly noted. What other news made? Oh, you know what? Here's some interesting news, and we'll delve more into it next week a little bit. But our friends over at We Got This Covered, and this, obviously this wasn't Eric that broke this story, but the rumor is that Marvel has in mind doing 9 Spider-Man films, 9 of which they've only made 2 as of now. So 9 Spider-Man films. That's 3 trilogies. And Tom Holland is already on record as saying he wants to play Spider-Man for as long as he can. So what's your reaction to that news?
It's smart. Like it's very smart, since Sony more than likely by the end of that 9 stretch will probably reboot their Sony Universe of Marvel characters franchise that they're trying to start. So it's best to kind of have a backup plan just in case, which more than likely their little Spider-Man Spider-Man-less Marvel universe that they're making falls flat on its face outside of the animated film. So it's just like I said, it's just smart business. It'd be stupid for them to pull out of that deal. That's money that they literally are being given for free, and they reap the benefits. So it's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's a smart thing to do.
Well, not only that, Tom Holland is securing his future.
Yes, he is.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Because he knows that, hey, Robert Downey Jr. led the entire MCU from phase 1 to phase 3, and locked himself up in however many picture deal. And obviously, Robert Downey Jr.'s got a lot more negotiating power. But with the character that Holland is playing, and as the popularity grows and as the character evolves, there's a lot of demand that he can start making as he gets further into this to get to grow his salary. So I mean, hey, a 9-picture deal with granted Sony is still technically the company behind it, but there's Disney money involved, so you'd be crazy not to sign that contract.
Young fella's smart. Young fella is smart.
Secure that bag.
I think that is good that they have a 9-picture deal. That's all fine and dandy, but I'm interested on what they do with it. Like what stories they're gonna go with, and if they decide to actually intertwine like the Sony stuff that they have going on, because they have. I don't care what anybody says. I'm interested to see what they do with Carnage, because that's a character that I never thought that I would see on the big screen. So yeah, I'm excited to see what it is, what it's doing, and I think I think Sony will sign off on it, because why not? They get money either way because it's their property. But I mean, yeah, I think it's a win, but it will be a win only if it's something interesting, because this could go bad too. So that's a thing. So
look at this dude just sneaking in on the show, just not even trying to say hello or anything like that.
Interrupt your conversation. Thank you very much.
Hey,
what's up, man?
Nerd?
Hey, I am outside.
Yeah, dude is chilling. He not in the Bahamas.
Nope.
And definitely ain't in the Dominican Republic. He out in the porch.
Having a little drink.
Having a little drink in his Marvel glass.
You know it.
But no, in all honesty, I mean, okay, they're going to finish out his high school years. They're going to, have him go to college, and then they're going to potentially do some of his adult life. So they've got the stories are obviously there. There's a lot that they can tell. Tom Holland does an amazing job as the character. So I mean, they're setting themselves up for the future. Basically, it's like, hey, if he needs to eventually be the lead Avenger. He can definitely do it. So
it'd be funny if they do the Clone Saga in these 9 movies they're talking about.
There's a lot that they can do.
But if they do the Clone Saga the correct way,
right.
not the nonsense we got in the books back in the 90s, but if they do I know they redid it in the new series that came out a few years back, but I mean, I don't think I want to do a Clone Saga, but it'd be cool just to have something like that, because you got to introduce a lot of his other characters besides the main core people of the Sinister Six. That'd be cool to see. I mean, even bringing Mysterio out was one of the coolest things, because we always seen Vulture. Not Vulture. We already seen Vulture. We already seen Green Goblin. So seeing new villains pop up, I really want to see like the lower level villains, like the Owl and the Magia. I want to see those, because they can't forget about. They are a big part of the Marvel Universe as well.
Of course.
Maybe.
I mean, they said nine pictures, right? That's what they're talking about?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Plus, they got to do. Plus, like Duane said, they got to do Spider-Man and Deadpool.
That'd be hilarious if they did that.
So there's all sorts of stuff they can definitely get done.
Did I hear it was like Spider-Man, Deadpool, and Wolverine?
If they do that, that'd just be the world will explode. If they
do
that,
would.
Man.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, that was one of the rumors.
That'd be too much awesome.
It would be quite a bit of awesome, I have to admit. I would. Okay, so Super Nerd, you haven't been around for a bit.
Yes.
You've been posting a lot of Saturday morning related posts to our various social media.
Correct.
And a lot of your stuff seems to have a lot of a Nickelodeon slant. So, what was your favorite post that you made this week? You know what my favorite post of yours that you made this week was showing that Mr. T cereal. Dude, I used to love that stuff.
I had to bring that out. So I've been on this whole my Saturday mornings was a shit kick. That's the dog barking. Because it's a definite nostalgia thing that I want to bring back, and I kind of want to campaign for it. I was thinking this week, you got to get the dog. She's ruining my conversation. So I was thinking about doing like a Facebook Live Instagram Live this weekend, and just trying to do like what's everybody's favorite cartoon type of situation, and what was your favorite cereal every morning too. And I kind of want to do like a whole little lineup. I was going to read out the lineup around that time, because if you go back and look even on Wikipedia, they have the different Saturday morning lineup cartoons of each network. And just looking at that is straight up nostalgia. So I definitely want to campaign for my Saturday morning were the shit. Because everybody's Saturday mornings with the shit growing up, so I definitely want to campaign that more.
Well, you know what? Some people just didn't have Saturday mornings. Like, Saturday mornings stopped like around like
2000 something,
late 90s, like early 2000s. Yeah, it was.
Because I've been watching little documentaries as well, where so little documentaries saying what ruined Saturday morning cartoons and for each network. So they had remember the Disney one Saturday morning. Oh yeah, that was dope. So I found out that apparently at a certain time they showed the same episode because they wanted to stop doing it. So they showed the same episode every Saturday at a certain point in time. I was like, that sucks. And that was on the Disney, and then when Fox went out, it's because we all know because of the toys and whatnot. Yeah. So that went out. Then same thing with Nickelodeon. I mean, different stuff ruined Nickelodeon too, but I think Nickelodeon was just too big for their britches when they came out with a hotel and all this crazy stuff. That ruined them. And then of course we all got older. We was in high school or we was going off to college, so that whole thing was kind of like, no Nickelodeon for us, and they did all the live action stuff, and it wasn't that great with some of the live action stuff that came down the road. So it's I think it's coming back in full effect when as far as nostalgia stuff. And you see even Nickelodeon bringing back all of that. If you remember all of that, the whole sketch comedy show with Kenan and Kel and everybody else, they brought it back out. I mean, I saw the first episode. It seems pretty funny, but it'll never be the same of the 90s. They kept the intro music the same. That's retro. But, I mean, nothing can compare to all the cartoons and live action shows from Saturday morning, Saturday night. It's just something that just cannot be replaced, and it cannot be done because even for X-Men almost never got made because they felt like kids wasn't mentally strong enough to handle real situations.
I mean, what is that? Mentally strong? What is that?
They wasn't. So they was fighting for the X-Men show to be on, and they felt like kids don't want that. Because remember, in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, even the 80s, across the board, most of the cartoons were super goofy. That wasn't serious.
You mean kind of like they are today? Kind of like they are today?
Right. So you had G.I. Joe, which was very serious. Voltron was serious, but they had not with Transformers. But they had the little goofy cartoons at that same point. But when X-Men came around with the whole what they did, and it was amazing, and they thought kids wasn't prepared for it. Prove them wrong.
It was kind of, in GQ probably want to jump in here on this too. It wasn't just X-Men. I mean, honestly, let's be straight up. Batman the Animated Series kind of led that charge, and it was kind of almost a perfect storm because both X-Men and Batman the Animated Series premiered in the same year. So
correct.
It was like, leading to this, almost a new generation of fans, that really got into this, the stuff that we knew that we were hip to, because we read the books,
Right.
So,
well, to me, I didn't get into comic with X-Men until like the cartoon. Yeah. So that's what I started getting into the comic books was because of the cartoon. Because I found out the story arcs was taken from the books. I'm like, oh, really? So that's why I started reading the X-Men comic books.
Yo,
so
you know what?
What's up?
Tony Young did bring up something very interesting, and I forgot that this actually happened. Remember, like, Saturday morning, and this shows you how long Dragon Ball been on. Remember Saturday morning, some Saturday mornings on the CW, they used to show Dragon Ball Z Kai on there. Remember that?
I remember that. Yep, I remember that.
Man,
they did that for a little bit.
Yeah,
so they repurposed it. Yep. Hell, remember. Okay, so I don't know if you know this. I'm such a nostalgia geek when it comes to Saturday morning cartoons and Sunday morning cartoons.
Yeah, me too.
So you remember? Okay, Sundays. It was basically Exo Squad, Ultra Force,
Space Com.
Yep, Space Com. What was it? Wing Commander used to come on.
Wing Commander. Ooh, that was a terrible show. And that used to. Oh, that hurt my heart. That was a terrible show. That hurt my heart because I love that game. Oh, that hurt my heart.
It was garbage. So
yeah,
they
it was so
had
garbage.
that. But then, if you remember, when they went off, what came on at noon?
I turned it off by then because, actually, no. WMSC Masters used to come on around like 11:30, 12 o'clock.
11 to 12, right. So, WMC Masters was so dope. I love that show. But after that, remember, they came on, it was like the Sunday movie special or whatever, and they would show Robot Jocks every freaking time. They would show Robot Jocks all the time in the most weirdest movies ever. Yeah. After that, and Jim Cotta. I know y'all hate that movie, but Jim Cotta was my movie. I'm sorry. I love Jim Cotta. It was the most weirdest, low budget 80s martial arts film ever.
All right. Well, we go on about this forever. We got an actual topic to get to, so I don't want to hold it up. Anybody else want to jump in real quick on some of that stuff? Because we're gonna actually revisit a lot of Saturday morning stuff. We got some stuff cooking in the works. We're gonna dedicate entire shows probably to some of our favorite memories, but you gotta stay tuned for that.
Yeah, look out. Maybe Friday or Saturday I'm gonna be having my favorite beverage and talking to you guys about cartoons.
You gonna have a rolling a blunt talking about like
I don't. First of all, sir, I don't smoke.
Okay, all right.
I have the beverage of the beverage. I thought about eating cereal, but I was like, I don't by slapping and smacking on the gram.
My man D-Juan Davis says Sundays in the mornings with Captain Planet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. TBS used to have that boy on on repeat like 5 or 6 times a day. It seemed like.
Oh, don't forget USA Cartoon Express on Sundays.
Oh man, that was my jam. That was my jam.
Mortal
Savage
Kombat
Dragon.
be on there. Yep,
The Savage Dragon. Yep.
Wildcats.
And Ultra Force.
Ultra Force, yeah.
Yeah.
For a little
Anyway.
bit, yeah.
Anyway, let's get to our main topic. We're kind of be talking about some of our favorite women in fandom, and it's a topic that is near and dear to Miao Yin's heart. So I'll kind of let her kind of lead the intro to it.
I just think it's relevant as far as topics go, because we're everywhere. Where, as in,
Black nerds. What do you mean?
Women.
Oh, I don't know what the topic even is. I'm gonna feed off you guys. I didn't read it. Sorry, 1,000 apologies.
It's okay.
We see how important we are to you. That's all.
We are very important. Thank you very much, sir.
Where am I starting?
You can start just kind of like the brief overview of the topic and why you wanted to talk about it today, and
well, in fandom, being a part of fandom, not only just doing the show, but just being a huge fan of so many things. When you navigate through these spaces in fandom, most of the time, it's like, oh, well, women can't do this because, insert asinine reason, or,
right.
Oh my gosh, there's so, where have you been all my life? Why are there more women? Da, da, da. And I'm just like, bitch, we everywhere. What you talking about? Like, it's one of those kind of things. Yeah, you can get to that later, because I know we got the whole thing set up. So, I just thought it was an interest, especially since, also with Captain Marvel coming out a couple of
months ago,
mm-hmm. And then we have Star Wars coming out, mm-hmm. And then next year we have Wonder Woman coming out, mm-hmm. And it's all of these strong female leads, and it's just like, nah, son, like, that shouldn't be a thing. When I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things in fandom, just like we've always been here, we've always been around, but geez, if I can keep this camera right, like, goodness, I'm not used to this shaky camera going on.
Shaky cam, straight up shaky cam. It's like Blair Witch Project all over again.
I wasn't making a game of that. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh my God, no. Okay.
So anyway, like, we miss May because May is Women's History Month and all that kind of stuff. So I figured it was still valid to talk about it. We don't need to have it in a specific month to talk about it. It's just something we should talk about,
Sure. Absolutely. So let's hit it with the first one. So, actually, Anna Omega brought it up right in the chat, right? He's like, are we talking about so-called fake geek girls? So let's start there. Let's start, with the stereotype of, the fake female fan, and the perception has always been, because, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I know the perception was for me, especially when I was younger, is that, and I know popular media kind of made it this way with the way they like to gender type, I guess a lot of women, or a lot of girls, you should say, but stuff like the stuff that we're into, video games and toys and comic books and stuff like that. That was stuff reserved for boys. And girls had their Barbies and their makeup kits and the play dress up and all this other kind of stuff. Y'all were kind of pigeonholed in a way. We were kind of pigeonholed too. So there was a whole generation, maybe 2-3 generations of people growing up thinking that it was absolutely impossible for real female fans to exist. So there came this stereotype. So maybe you could talk a little bit about kind of some of the things that you faced, even while growing up, trying to grow up, being a fan.
Okay, so I've said it tons of times on the show before. Like, I have 2 older brothers. I have no biological sisters. I didn't grow up with sisters in the house. The only other woman in my house was my mom, and which was great. And the great thing about that is she let me be who I wanted to be. Like, I wanted to follow after everything that my brothers were doing. So when they got G.I. Joes and when they got video games and stuff like that, that's what I was around. So that's what I was interested in. Yes, I did have, some things that were stereotypically female, as in, I wanted to do the whole princess thing, but I also wanted to be a princess but run around in the dirt. And then I played baseball, so princess dress, running around bases, and it was just that kind of thing. And even playing baseball, being the boys are talking about Saturday morning cartoons and they're talking about video games and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't keep up with those conversations because, again, that was the environment that I was in. That is what I was playing with. That is what I was doing. But it was just like, you don't know what you're talking about. But then when we sit down and play a game and I beat them, or I know more about a certain character or something than them, then they mad and they want to fight. So that's a thing too.
Mm-hmm.
And I just always thought that was strange. And, as I've gotten older, and it's some obviously stereotypes that I have had to unlearn myself, but I've gotten older and with the thing that's just like, oh, just because a girl is good looking, and yes, there are women out there who decide to jump into it because they're into whatever guy that guy is in, and men do the same thing in different ways. They're interested in something just because they want to land this person. Mm-hmm. That's something that everybody does. Any person does to woo another person. But women, when we do it, it's like demonized. And sometimes in cases, I've had friends who they've become interested in something because of a guy that they were interested in, but then genuinely are just like, oh, this is cool. This is something that I really like. And they want to know more. That doesn't make them a fake fan. That makes them someone who is learning something more. But also the idea of also fake female fan or whatever is something that comes about because of the media, really. So it just depends on how much you want to play into gender roles and how much you want to play into the fact that people with vaginas don't know this as much as you do. So the thing.
Go ahead, fellas, jump in.
Well, realistically, a lot of what you said makes a lot of sense. Every female that I've ever dated had to be interested in what I was interested in because that's kind of how things work. You're not going to spend time with me if you can't accept what I like and I can't tolerate what you like. So
I love how you said tolerate.
No, I mean, just straight up. Like, for example, I'm not going to like go around and start collecting Barbies or nothing like that. But at the same time, if somebody's if like a woman I'm dating is into poetry and wants to go to poetry slams, okay, I can go check that out. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily necessarily going to like it. But when it comes to the Marvel movies, the video games, that stuff's not going away. Like that's not going away. That's life. That's a big part of life for me. So if you don't like it, there's about 4 billion other choices out there. So,
well, address this part too, because something that Miao Yin brought up about girls that are actually genuine, but there's a lot of girls that aren't genuine. There's a lot of girls that do stuff just to try and get the guy, and then it comes across that then they say, oh well, or like they'll try and say, well, I wasn't really interested after all. I was just doing it to appease you, and I think that's where a lot of the anger or resentment towards some of those fans go. What do you say to that?
But why would there be anger or resentment? Everybody's replaceable. So, I mean, if this person was faking the funk, okay, I'll find somebody else. It's not really a hard choice.
I guess it's just because not everybody really likes being lied to, and they feel like, why would you ever be fake? You know what I mean?
Okay,
so that makes them second guess the next people.
I'm gonna put it to you this way: everybody lies to everybody at some point in life. True. Period. Yeah, that's true. So if you can't handle a lie about what somebody was interested in and kick them to the curb and move on to the next one that might have more true interest, okay, then that's on you. Deal with it and live with the lie, or find somebody better.
Yep, I agree. I can say this because I've had guys who I have dated in the past who were just like, oh yeah, I like that game. I know how to play it, and then didn't know even what the game really was. So this isn't like this isn't a woman or femme thing. This is something that people do on, to woo people. They act like they're interested in something.
That's very true. One thing that Hannah Omega brought up in the chat, and I want to also let definitely don't want to let Fo and Marvel sit off to the sidelines. But one thing Hannah Omega says in the chat is that there's one of the situations of females getting grilled by fans, like for example at conventions and various things, almost like there's a supposed litmus test. I think that is one thing that drives women away from fandom sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to put that out
Definitely.
there. You don't have to grill anybody these days.
Right.
It's like put a controller in their hand or go watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a whole bunch of questions that are dumb, this is somebody that's not really into the fandom. They don't know.
Well,
if they're asking standard little stuff to fill in the blanks, cool, no problems. If they can throw a combo out in Street Fighter without doing button mashing and getting lucky,
right?
You might have a keeper.
Right.
But like all this grilling and it's like you're just gonna get kicked to the curb faster because there's plenty of other people out there.
Right.
And anytime I'm in the room,
there it is. So, there it is. Just because he's so nattily attired and all this other kind of stuff. But no, you bring up a great point because I think a lot of guys when they do that, and to Hannah Omega's point, they may be trying to awkwardly feel out, but no, really, a lot of times, a lot of guys are trying to play gatekeeper. They feel like they're or at least some section of men, they feel like they're something that they want to take ownership of is being tread upon, and they don't want to lose it. And that's where a lot of that vitriol over, Brie Larson has come from, or even, Gal Gadot, or all that other kind of stuff. That's where a lot of that originates. Follow Marvel. Go ahead.
I just think when it comes to just at least introduce it. Like, I know for me personally, I think it's been a great thing, seeing more women making themselves known in fandoms and such, because I know for me personally, growing up, during grade school and stuff or whatever, that was kind of like the time when, like, being in this stuff wasn't exactly the coolest thing in the world. And, we also have, the whole thing where, boys like certain things, fandom wise, and, girls, they like the cupcake stuff, the original, not the most recent My Little Pony, but the original one, like from the 90s, like, that stuff, and, Polly Pocket and all that stuff. So it's the thing is, if it was, as far as nowadays go, we're gonna stick to just nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it is still tough on women in fandom, because you do have people, women who are legitimate fans of certain things, and they do run into that hassle of, basically having to take a quiz of X through A through Z just to see, like, if if they're really fans and such. And then you run into the whole thing where you have the section of supposed fangirls, in a sense, that are using, things to their advantage. And
are you talking about a certain section of women out there, man?
Just a certain section.
Okay.
Just a certain section. And it's whatever, like, whatever your hustle is, it's fine, whatever. But it comes down to if a person is literally genuine about the fandom, or if they're basically using it to get a quick buck. And
right.
I think that the overall climate of that, it's still sailing murky waters as far as that goes, because it's a lot of times it's hard to tell, because there have been people who've been called out for being,
Fake
fans and stuff, and
yeah.
a lot of times it's hard to tell. Like, I'm not one to assume that because certain female fans, they want to dabble into the certain things they want to, like, it's legitimate. A lot of times it's like, they legit like the stuff. Other times, like, they just, whatever. But the thing is, I do think it's good for fandoms that, like, women are starting to step up and really show their appreciation.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like, I mean, I wish it was this awesome when I was in grade school, honestly. But
man, yeah. And Tony Young hit it right on the head. He in the chat, he hit it right on the head. He's like, oh, he means sexy cosplayer. That's exactly who he's talking about. Who he's talking about.
I mean, hey, it's the difference between Yaya Han and Momo Kun. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
Factoid.
There's a difference between the two. That's all I'm saying.
But I don't see. But here's the thing, though. I really don't see there being a problem if you're making money off of people being gullible.
Agreed. I totally agree. I'm not knocking the hustle. I'm not knocking the hustle at all.
I'm not knocking the hustle. I'm just saying, like, that's what they like. That's what you do, whatever.
Right.
Like, all I'm just saying is that, like, a lot of times that just kind of makes it harder, like, on, like, the overall the scale of things, because it's kind of, it's almost normal. It's almost like a normal thing to where, like, it's kind of like one of those things that sort of trickle into other, like, aspects of the fandom. But it's just one of those things that is what it is.
Well, I mean, my issue with that is that, you have the sexy cosplayers and stuff like that, and the people who know that they can use, a suit or their sex.
Feminine wiles. Yep.
Nope. We don't even say that, because that's no. They can use sex as a tool to get money out of people. Mm-hmm. And then that gets put on everybody else. That gets put on the whole group. Right. Which the
isn't
whole
fair.
group being women or films or whatever, that's BS, because everybody not doing that. So that's nonsense.
But that's how groups have been judged since the dawn of time.
Exactly.
So issue. Again, it's one of those, if they do it, fine for them. Hey, if a corset and a certain hairstyle and a push-up bra can, like, make you some money, go make your money. Go make your money. Because at the same time,
to me, that goes to personal responsibility and not to anybody else. That's not anybody else's problem. That's you and personal responsibility. That's how you decided to use your dough. And
exactly.
So I don't knock the performer or the Twitch girl or the cosplayer or the cheerleader or the whatever. Mm-hmm. And she didn't go in your pocket. She didn't go in your pocket and spend that money. You spent that money. Mm-hmm. So right. So I look at it as people are complaining. It's like, hey, you can look. You don't mean you got to throw no money their way.
Absolutely, my friend.
Oh boy,
absolutely.
I mean, hey, you gotta
absolutely.
As a consumer, you gotta reach in your pocket, pull out the wallet, open it up, search for the debit card, and then
I guess there's no difference. There's no difference in Instagram models and Twitch.
Oh no, there is not. You're right. Nope. You're right. There's no difference at all. You're right.
Yeah, it's all the same.
My thing is.
Go ahead, man.
Thing is,
put your face in the camera, dude. Come on, you killing me.
It's in the face.
There
How about that?
There you go. That's better.
My thing is, I'm using my tablet. If you want to do all that, just go to the bunny ranch. I'll get a prostitute.
God damn.
There it is.
Everybody don't want to do that. Some people have other day jobs and
they're scumbags.
Personal responsibility.
Yeah,
I can see it right now.
Responsibility.
Could you dress like Samus for me? Oh, there are people like that, I'm sure.
Yo,
Oh man.
yo, that's hilarious.
Just saying.
All right, so let's move on to the next part of the conversation. So let's bring it to some more positive imagery of women in gaming and fandom. I mean, honestly, we're talking about we've been talking bad about fake female fans and cosplayers that that basically exploit their sexuality for money. But that doesn't mean that there aren't genuine fans. I'm just getting to that. That doesn't mean that there aren't genuine fans, genuine cosplayers, genuine regular fans that literally enjoy all the geek culture. I mean, hell, she's co-hosting the show with us right now. So so we know one. We know more than one. We know more than a few. What are some inspiring women in gaming, comics, and film, or in fandom in general that you guys want to give a shout out to? Let's start with you, Yayan, since you is your topic.
I'll go last because I have a lot. Because I gravitate to women more. So
right. Okay, fine. GQ, you wanna jump in first? Go first.
Wait a minute, you gravitate towards women more. When did this happen? That's
always.
I don't know. I mean, when it comes down to it, like Yaya Han is an interesting person in the sense of, she started off with her passion for cosplay, obviously. Did it at an extremely high level. Probably the first person I've ever seen that, made Jessica Rabbit look real. Very good Chun-Li. Like a lot of the different costumes she does them, to the fullest. Mm-hmm. And the fact that like she's got, like costume patterns that are for sale in like Joanne Fabrics and stuff just shows that it's like, you keep at it long enough, somebody's going to notice. And she's, obviously probably one of the most recognized cosplayers in the world. As far as bringing just that much notoriety to it on a extremely high level. So I mean that's pretty much one of my favorite people on the cosplay side of things. As far as the fandom, like for example, Carmen Bacandova from Gotham, who photobombed, I think it was Jill and Big Pimp and Jay when they were taking a picture. Like that's a cool person in fandom because you could tell that, yes, she's on a show, but her being at Comic-Con was exciting for her and she was having fun and having a blast and just, so seems like a really cool person. So I think, you're going to find more people in especially in the younger generation of actors, actresses that are really truly into this stuff heavily, not just more or less the job aspect of it, but like this is stuff that they grew up with, enjoyed, have a passion for just as much as any of us do. So I think seeing this, the younger generation of female actors and actresses is probably going to be like a very big push, and especially social media, because it opens up that gateway more so into people's lives and to see what their interests are. For example, not a female, obviously, but like Lawrence Fishburne has a feature on Sideshow Collectibles right now because he's a Sideshow he's a Sideshow toys collector. So I mean, it's just
okay.
Yeah, so it's like you're getting to see like more of these people, more of their lives, more like kind of behind the scenes, as they say, because it's everywhere now, and I think it's more socially acceptable. And we even had a show on episode of Game talking about this. It's more socially acceptable to be into the nerd fandom. Yep. And all those sort of things now than it was, back when we were in high school and everything. So, So that's kind of my main thing. Another one I enjoy on the video game side of things is probably Pure Ruby 87.
Dude, she is beautiful, but dude, she's like the antithesis of the women we were talking about before. Because like she could easily work all them dudes and make a ton of money. She don't care about that. She loves to game. That's it. Right. And she's gorgeous. She is absolutely gorgeous. But that's not what she's about. She's about the games. And I appreciate that. Like she even goes as far as like when she does stream, she never turns her camera on because she doesn't want it to be about you know, her appearance. She wants it to be about how good she is with, you know, with the controller. That's it.
Right.
And I could respect that. I could totally respect that. I could totally respect that. Fallen Marvel, what are some inspiring women in gaming, comics, and film that you
doing a lot of paying attention to detail and, you know, folks that's really trying to make waves out there. I keep forgetting the name. I know she's one of the writers on I think it was it Captain Marvel, I think it was. I think she's like one of the more recent writers on it, and
we talking comic books? We talking comic book?
I think you're talking about. I think it's Matt Fraction's wife.
Kelly Sue DeConnick?
Yeah.
I think, like, you know, I've been you know, sort of like kind of keeping up like what she's been doing and things of that nature, and I think she's been doing really good work. As far as other people goes, I think like just one of the things I did watch recently, and these are for folks that's Power Rangers fandom. A lot of the Power Rangers alumni, especially like from like the earlier series, like namely Nakia Burrise and Karen Ashley, I really think that they are really. I want to meet them in person, obviously, not for obvious reasons, but I still do want to meet them. But
what do you mean by for obvious reasons? What do you mean by that? I wonder.
Hey, I mean, kind of yes, okay, like
okay.
You kind of guess, but
all right.
Like the thing is, a lot from what I hear from everyone who's ever met them, whatever, like they said that they are really awesome and like they really, you know, support the fandoms and everything. It's like folks who grew up with it. It's like, you know, they definitely are people like within that fandom. You know, people who are essentially kind of, you know, I can't really think of the word, but you know, they're among the group of people who are kind of like just like in the front of the fandom that really are basically showing it in the best light, and it's very supportive and things of that nature, and I really think it's cool. So besides that, I don't know, like I know for me it's a lot more discovering that I probably need to do, because it's just one of those things. I've kind of more or less have been a little bit out of touch. And you know, the thing is that like I try to listen to a lot of people, especially folks that's in the group and like some of the other groups that I'm in, and you know, try to pay attention with who people are talking about and things of that nature, because you know, it's one of those things that we just really need more of. And you know, we already mentioned Yaya Han on the cosplay side and things of that nature, so you know, his just, you know, I'm just a supporter. I'm just being a supporter. So
Super Nerd, let's go with you.
Okay, I got two artists that in comic books that I really love their work, and I've been following them from like day one. One is Fiona Staples. If you know Fiona Staples, she did Saga and the Archie comic books with is it Mark Waid, I believe? Yeah.
Yep.
And another one is Sarah Pacelli. She was doing the Miles Morales comics. Man, her artwork is so sick.
Yes.
Like, and don't get me wrong, Brian Michael Bendis is definitely dope, but I also picked up the book because her artwork is sick.
Yeah.
It's so, like, she is definitely good. And there's more writers I can't think off the top of my head, but
Gail Simone
as far as artists goes, Gail Simone, yeah, gotta go with Gail Simone. It's another lady. She does the Miss Marvel books. I can't remember her name.
Yes, you're right. The Miss Marvel and the Miss Marvel books are well written.
Yeah, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's a real good writer too. There's a lot of female artists and writers out there that should get credit, especially Fiona Staples and Sarah Pacelli. Like, their work is dope. If you love Saga, and I read Saga, and I didn't really get hip to it, but I love the artwork in Saga. it's still great stuff. Like I would love to see more of their work, more and more, because I haven't seen Fiona Staples stuff lately because I know she's still doing Saga because it should be ended soon, I believe. But I want to see different stuff from her as well. Like I just fell in love with her stuff ASAP. Like as soon as I seen it. Yeah, that's pretty much it so far.
Okay.
I can't think of nobody else right now, but yeah.
So for me, I know. For me, I want to kind of bring it back to gaming. For me, there's a lot of like Jade Redmond has always been kind of inspiring to me because she was one of the first more prominent female producers of video games, and everywhere she goes, like when she started at Ubisoft and she kind of gained her notoriety for Assassin's Creed and stuff like that, and when she was kind of over the franchise, she that was like the best years of Assassin's Creed, and since she's moved on, it's kind of, a lot of people say it's kind of really fallen off since she left. But everywhere she goes, she's kind of been an inspiration to a lot of women that might want to break into video games and stuff like that. But as far as cosplay goes, I kind of want to give a shout out. There's a lot of black cosplayers out there that they go through a lot of hard stuff. Like you think it's bad for women in general in fandom, do black girls get it worse than that? But
yeah,
K Bear cosplay for me is like one of my favorites. She always seems to have a lot of fun when she's doing it. She may be on the more risque side when she's doing a lot of her cosplays, but that isn't necessarily a terrible thing. But she just seems to be a genuinely good person, and just wants to enjoy the stuff to enjoy it. So and the fact that a lot of the stuff that gets said about her from some of these other the section of fandom that are extremely toxic, it's amazing how she just remains positive and stays true to what she likes. And I already mentioned Gail Simone as someone that inspires me as a comic book writer. But if you ever seen, like, remember when Carol was still Miss Marvel before Kamala Khan came out, like one of her last run of her books, there was an artist that has moved on to an image book called Monstrous. Her name was Sana Takeda. She's a Japanese artist, but her art is beautiful. You should see it. Like some of the art that she had was just really incredible. She did a stint on, I followed her from Miss Marvel to X-23, even read a few issues of Monsters simply because she was on it, and I appreciated her art. So but those are some really inspiring women. But before we move off this topic, Yayin, let's get some of the people that you have.
So Marcus has said Fiona Sharp, because I was asked if I can
Fiona Staples. Yes.
Fiona Staples. So she was on my list because I really like her stuff. She doesn't get as much credit, and I think in the comic book world as she probably should. One that is she's in film, and she's way behind the scenes, and most people don't know who she is, but her name is Sarah Finn, and she's the casting director for so many of these comic book movies and blockbuster films that we see. She's the person who puts these people together, as a casting director, and she should get a lot of credit, because if she didn't put these folks together, then I think sometimes, we would probably not have such a great film, because, you've seen films that are just like, oh, this film could be amazing, but it just doesn't have the right people in there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there's there. And I wanted to shout out, these are just like some random folks that I wanted to shout out, because I follow a lot of women who are doing things because I'm just wired that way. I'm just like, oh, what is she doing? What is she doing? Blah, blah, blah. So, Felicia D. Henderson, she actually is a producer, and she wrote a couple of episodes of Punisher TV show. She's she, from following some of the stuff that she's done, and she's also did like Soul Food, the TV show, which is like one of the longest running shows on that was on cable TV. So she was pretty awesome. Obviously, you have Roxanne Gray, Ava DuVernay, and then also L.L. McKinney, who her comic book for Nubia is coming out through DC, and she's a great writer. She is
Wait a
she
minute,
has a book.
press pause a second. Did you say there's going to be a Nubia comic book?
Yes.
Really?
So, yes.
Interesting. Nice.
So she's doing that, and her book, like I found out her through her actual novel, which is called A Blade So Black, and it's like a retelling of, it's like a modern retelling of freaking Alice in Wonderland. That's freaking amazing. And it's like, it's so many great aspects, and I'm just like, I'm so excited that she's doing Nubia because like the way she writes is dope. So I had another person, I can't even think of her name. But she played Monica Rambeau, or not Monica, she played Maria Rambeau and Captain Marvel. And I think that she is somebody that we should watch. I don't even remember her name right now, which is terrible. But I think she's somebody that we should watch because I think she's going to show up in more like fandom, as in like sci-fi, superhero, all that kind of stuff. And
speaking of that, you are absolutely right because she's in James Bond 25 actually as one of the secondary characters. So, yep.
So,
all right.
Like I said, I think she's just a person that we should watch, and I'm very interested in her. I was excited when I saw the first. That was like one of the only things that interests me, other than Sam Jackson, when I first saw the Captain Marvel trailer. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Like, you guys hear me spout out about my people all the time, so I'll continue to do that. Quick plug though. One other thing, if you want to hear more about more inspiring women and stuff like that, we have a show that is a oldie but a goodie coming back. Is the League of Extraordinary Fangirls, and we're going to have it over on YouTube starting this Friday. So that is where you will see more talks about more inspiring films and women. Boom. Next topic.
Cheap plug. But it's not cheap. It's actually.
It is a golden plug, not a cheap. It is
golden plug. Wait a minute now. Let's not talk about golden plugs. We're starting to go into some other territory possibly. Let's just
you would say that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yikes. Whatever, bro. Anyway, so
scum.
I was saying golden as
I'm pure scum. Okay. Anyway.
Why do you have to turn golden into something bad? That's just terrible.
When is gold ever bad? When is gold ever bad?
Whatever you were just talking about.
Gold is never bad. Anyway, let's move on. So, here's an interesting question that you brought up, and I think it's worth discussion. So, you're saying, how does patriarchy breed toxic fandom? And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the perception of fake female fans. That directly correlates to this actual topic. So let's debate. What do you mean by that? How does what's some examples that you give here?
Well, why is it when why is the first thing that when you just like think of women in fandom, you think of fake sexy fans? So if she's super sexy, she's obviously not a fan and maybe a whore. Like, what is that about? Like, why does that have to be a thing?
Because most people...
Or if she, like, for example, I'm so terrible at this right now, but the girl who played Rose in Star Wars, like, the vitriol for this woman just playing a character, like, was astounding to me. Like, if you didn't like the character, fine. But to make it like this whole thing that this person is now getting death threats and, their safety is threatened because of a character that they played in a movie that you didn't like what the hell is that about? Because I have tons of people who I don't like playing in movies, like, Matt Damon, but I don't try to threaten his life because I don't like some of his films. Like, that's ridiculous.
It's because it's weird because I don't know if you ever read, but it was fans that was bullying the 7-year-old girl that played Tony Stark's daughter in the Endgame movie.
That's
Like,
ridiculous.
for what? Child. If you ain't got nothing better to do, kill yourself. That's just my theory. Like, bullying for what? There's no reason to be bullying people or talking bad about somebody because something you didn't like. It makes no sense. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Simple as that. Move on. But certain people can't do that, apparently.
Yeah, it's like pulling teeth.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, it's just like, it's been, I mean, obviously you look back at the history, it's been a male dominated kind of thing for the longest. I mean, whether it's movies, sports, the list goes on and on. And when it comes to things that were initially marketed to young boys, like video games, like it's like late 80s, like a lot of that stuff was marketed to young boys and so on and so forth, and like that stuff that went on through the 90s. So it's like the moment you saw anything about girls liking video games or whatever, whatever it can be, it's like this whole foreign concept. And it's just a lot of people have not grown out of that mindset. And that's essentially what sort of roots to the problem. Now, it kind of gets to the point where now it gets a little bit ridiculous because now you are like on the other side of that, you kind of have this thing where people are saying that, because I think I read an article saying that sexualized characters in video games contributes to harassment. And I'm thinking like, wait, what? I mean, look, there's plenty of women I found attractive, but like that never made me want to harass them, like harass women in real life. I mean, it's like, the thing is that you have to think about taught and learned behavior. Okay, that's like saying it like, okay, Dead or Alive 2 came out. I ain't never seen a girl before in my life. It's just a fight. I just play video games. Oh, I play Dead or Alive 2. Oh, that woman is wearing less than such and such or whatever. I wonder if I can harass a woman in real life. Like, no, that's not how that works. It's things like that are taught and learned. And it's a very age-old thing that does need a lot of reevaluation. But at the end of the day, it is to the point where it could be extreme on other sides, because on one hand, you still have male fans who facilitate the toxicity in fandom, like the whole Rose situation with Star Wars. But then, like, on the other hand, then you have people who are using those examples as ways to attack like aspects of gaming that have nothing to do with the issue. And
how much of this, and this is just an aside, and I'm just throwing this out there for you guys to kind of discuss. How much of this is related to men thinking of women as nothing more than sexual conquest or objects of desire, and kind of almost dehumanizing them in that manner? How much does that play into it, if at all, you guys think?
As far as just like something that's
how they treat women that have genuine, that show either whether they be actresses, because would they be, for instance, to bring up Miaya's point on Kelly Marie Tran, if Kelly Marie Tran was viewed as someone that was hot or really super attractive, would there be this vitriol for her? I don't know. Maybe there would be, maybe there wouldn't be. But I somehow, some way, I feel like there's a correlation between the vitriol that some of these women get and their their appeal to the male gaze or lack thereof, so on and so forth. Discuss.
I mean, I think there could be some truth to that, and I mean, because the thing is, Kelly Marie Tran, definitely by, well, let's just say we're going from the Hollywood perspective. She wouldn't be, the prototypical bombshell type actress like, say, a Scarlett Johansson, Margot Robbie, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's easy to kind of pick at her for inconsequential reasons. Now, Daisy Ridley also went through something similar too. Now, whether that's just the general toxicity in the fandom, that's left to be debatable. But there have been examples where a person's appearance, whether it's someone who doesn't have like the super glamorous look, or doesn't have they're not on someone's top 10 sexiest actress list or whatever. And it definitely can play into that, because I mean, to quote GQ, sex sells, and if folks don't think that you fit into that category, they will have a field day. Even though
Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, when she was cast as Wonder Woman, I mean that's certainly some of it too.
I mean, that was more so just because of her.
The problem is that if it doesn't fit into their fantasy world,
right,
then it's wrong. Everything only exists for their pleasure and consumption. And even if you go back to Anna Diop, I might be saying her name wrong.
Anna Diop.
Diop. Okay.
Yep.
From Titans, who, and I mean, I say that kind of stuff all the time, so it gets redundant to say, hey, you're seeing a picture of them filming in a costume between takes or whatever. That's not how it's going to look in the actual show. You see it on screen and it's totally different, but this person, this woman, or, this whomever, they have to go through all of this nonsense because the gatekeepers want it a certain way, and they have a certain vision, and if nobody can live up to that, then, which nobody can, because it's fantasy for a reason, it's fiction for a reason, it's we're mere mortals, and we don't live up to every little thing that we conjure up in our brains. But that's a part of it. People want to control every little aspect of everything, and if it doesn't fit into them, then it doesn't work. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, in fandom, sometimes when something is new and different and it's not marketed to the traditional base or whatever, then it's like, oh my gosh, burn it, throw it away. And that's the problem that you're seeing. And that's why I think that, patriarchy does play a big part in it, because if something is not marketed to the guys and, the old way, then, oh my gosh, it's something wrong with it and you can't evolve for some reason. So it does play a big part in toxic fandom, and that's why it's not getting better, it's getting worse.
Well, it's getting worse because you can't kill people anymore. I mean, if you could just off, the toxic fan people like that, then things would probably be better, I would say.
Oh, and to bring up, I meant to bring this up earlier. I'm glad that Hand of Omega said it. Like, fan fiction. Fan fiction is a huge industry, and it's a huge industry that the majority of the people who produce the stuff is women, is female. So that's another thing that
There was some popular series, wasn't it? Twilight basically got birthed out of fan fiction, isn't that right? Isn't that what I heard?
Yeah, it is. It was.
A story.
Yeah.
That became fan fiction, and that became 50 Shades of Grey.
No, they're not connected in any way. But
No, they're not. But what happened was that someone did a fan fiction based on Twilight, but because of certain things, they just redid it, and it became 50 Shades of Grey. Like literally, it did.
what? That doesn't.
Interesting.
That's a whole nother debate for another time. Move,
Yeah, that's a
move
whole
right
different
along,
thing,
please.
Because I don't even know where that those two were. Yeah, no. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, I meant to bring up fan fiction earlier because that goes into the whole the fake fan thing. Because fan fiction, again, mostly written by women. Mostly, not all, but mostly.
Did not know that.
Okay, but wait, why do you bring that up? I'm curious now.
What, fan fiction thing?
Yeah, fan fiction being written by women.
Well, because fan fiction is a decent chunk of fandom, and it is based on all the things we love in fandom: comic books, movies, video games, all that kind of stuff. And the people who produce that stuff is mainly women, like overwhelmingly.
Okay, but at the same time, it's part of the fandom, but it's also part of the problem.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's great.
Fan fiction is a very big part of why you have a lot of fans that feel that they're entitled to their favorite series, genres, sagas doing certain things that the way that they think they should be done.
I'd argue that the way that fan fiction is a more of a release, not so much of a control. So it's just like, I saw this, and I will say I got into fan fiction years and years ago when I was a teenager, when I was watching Inuyasha. So I was just like, let me go read something else. Maybe somebody has an idea that I had. Anyway.
Wait. When you were years ago?
That was years ago. That was like early, like 2001.
Whatever. You were a teenager. You were a teenager like 4 years ago. I hear it.
Whatever. So my oldest niece wasn't even born when I was like first started reading or getting into fan fiction. So anyway, so I brought that up because it's not so much that, I wrote this fan fiction, I think somebody should. No, I think fan fiction has always been a release for, a way to say, oh, well, this is my spin on this story. I think there's other folks who are just like, they're not satisfied with certain things. So fan fiction turns into this whole different thing where they're just like, my fan fiction needs to be on HBO like today. That's.
Well, a lot of those people are delusional, so I guess we'll just have to just put them in that particular basket.
That's a different part of it. Those are, in every part of fandom, you have people who feel entitled, and largely, I don't think that's the fan fiction audience.
But then you have people like myself that just predict everything, right? So how does that work?
As he gives the smug look in the camera.
Right?
Hey.
That's his default face, though.
Hey, I'm not going to say that I predicted, exactly how the Avengers Assemble scene was going to be before Infinity War came out.
Because he kind of did. He kind of did. Like a year ago when we were breaking down the trailer, he kind of said it. So.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was that 2 years ago?
It was before Infinity War. We were breaking down.
Oh, that's right. It was. You're right. Okay.
And he basically said it that day. He said, when all builds up, Cap is going to say Avengers Assemble. Because we have not heard it in any of the movies. They almost said it in, was the Age of Ultron, right?
Yep.
But they didn't say they cut it off. And Chris predicted, if you want to find the video, he said it.
Oh, he posted it. He posted
it too.
Yeah, he posted
it. Yeah. Either or. It was said. So, yeah.
So, I mean, and the only reason I even say that is I have no problem with people that analyze stuff and make their predictions. My main problem is with the people that look at stuff and say, oh, it should have been done this way, and it sucks because it wasn't done this way. It's like, dude, the movie, like Captain Marvel, for example, it's like, regardless of how much hype it had and the hype train and all the other good stuff, the movie still made $1 billion plus. So whatever they were doing, I mean, apparently it worked because all you various ideas of Brie Larson should have did this and did this, whatever, she still made $1 billion. So at the end of the day, somebody getting paid, and all your complaining ain't changing nothing.
And nobody got fired.
Right. You know, I know there was a lot made about, Kathleen Kennedy being, pushed aside. She ruined Star Wars and stuff like that, all this other kind of stuff. But I don't really think that she got fired. I think she was always going to be stepping aside. I think it was a preemptive strike. I mean, because she's still there. She still has her job. Everybody was like saying, oh, she should be fired and all this other stuff. She wasn't fired. She just has a different role. So
I think this new woman that they're bringing in, who worked with J.J. Abrams for quite a few years, will be interesting.
I agree.
I think a lot of people are getting to the argument of this person doesn't have the resume, and it's like when it really comes down to it in Hollywood and in a lot of creative industries, the resume doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. The resume just means, like, for example, if you're Spielberg, okay, Spielberg, that's a whole different level. Like, you've been doing it for decades, and damn it, you're just a freaking visionary and a genius. That's different. Sometimes you get that person that just comes in, and they're not programmed the same way every other Hollywood executive is programmed or every other studio executive is programmed. And they look at it in just that one particular way that makes things work. That's why Kevin Feige works so freaking well as in the position he's in, because his first movie not his first movie, but the movie that he was a PA on was the original X-Men movie, from back in 2000.
And he looked at it.
No, they did. He looked at it from a comic book fan's standpoint of, we can style Wolverine's hair to kind of closely mimic, or at least get as close as we can to the style of the comic books.
Right.
And they did it. And it's like him and again, he wasn't a producer. He wasn't like the director. He wasn't any of that. He was just a guy that would.
He was a production assistant, yeah.
Right. Yeah. He was a guy that just had the foresight to look at the books and say, hey, here's something that we can do that the fans will probably appreciate. And again, I noticed it right off rip when they first showed X. When you first saw it, I was like, oh, they try to do his little Wolverine haircut. It's not precise, but damn it, at least they did. They styled it up and it made it look different. So I think with her, she worked with J.J. Abrams for quite a few years. So I think it's not so much, oh, well, she's never directed a movie. She's never, fully produced a movie. Okay. If she's a lifelong Star Wars fan and has some really good ideas and has a really good long, vision and plan for how Star Wars can work, I'm good with that, man.
Yeah,
and I think that's all what they need in general. Like, if you got somebody with fresh ideas and have been fan for years, and that's what it is, because Hollywood have no new ideas. Simple as that. When you bring somebody, who's a fan and is in tune with certain things, like everything Marvel been doing, they've been putting subtle nuances in every movie that make you go, damn, I can't believe they put that in there. So somebody like her, who's a Star Wars fan and knows the ins and outs and probably read the comic books at some point, probably bring something fresh and new that make people say, damn, that's from the comic books from the 80s. How the hell she put, stuff like that. So Hollywood had no new idea, simple as that. Let these new young gunners come in and express how they feel because they're passionate about these subjects,
All right, moving right along. So, this is something that Myayan put out there. So, is women in fandom are unicorns? Fact or fiction? Myth or magic? I don't know.
What do you mean?
So, I want to know what she means by that. Women in fandom are unicorns. What does she mean by that?
Like, I was always, like, every time, like,
Oh,
no,
let me
get
guess.
my
Let me
words
guess. Let me guess.
together.
It's the guy that says, "Oh my God, where have you been all year? You're not real. You can't be real. They don't make women like you." That is that what you mean? Like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I can speak on this
Go ahead,
because
sir.
Go ahead, 'cause
me. Okay, so me and if you know my best friend Waffles, us being two geeks in high school, we didn't have that at all. So when you
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Expound.
there was no women in high school that were into the things we're into.
Okay.
At all. So when you see a woman like that, you're like, oh, sweet, where have you been all my life? Or just in general, like, I can have a conversation with you about the same stuff that you like and I like, you know? In general, like, because some of my close friends, when I was working at my old job, I found they were nerds. I'm like, hell yeah, let's talk about it. I got into Doctor Who because all the women at my old job was Doctor Who fans, so I started watching them. Like, shit, I became a Doctor Who fan. So, to me personally, and it's only me saying this personally, back then in high school and even a little bit after high school, there was no women that I knew of that were into geeky stuff, geek culture in general, until I became like in my mid-20s and late 20s. I know I'm saying my age.
You know what I found? Here's what you know what I found, and it's very interesting. That is actually not true. They were always there, but much like us in general, and to a greater degree, a lot of times we would get picked on for being outwardly expressing our love for geek culture back then.
Well, I never got picked on.
Imagine if they came out and did it. It was like social ostracization. So a lot of what I found is that a lot of the girls that I went to high school with, later in the years, they came out and said, they've liked this stuff all along. Like they were watching G.I. Joe, they were watching Silverhawks, they were watching Thundercats, and they were digging it. And it was like back then they would never let on, and in fact they would join in on making fun of us to kind of almost like deflect that they themselves really liked it. So I wouldn't say that they didn't exist. I was just saying that they were always in hiding.
No, even in high school, I can name some of the girls in high school right now wasn't into that geek stuff at all. Just because the high school I went to, it wasn't like that. Yeah. So I can literally name on my Facebook page right now.
No, I hear you, and you're not. Yeah. You're probably not wrong. I'm just saying that those girls actually really did exist. They were rare, but they also hit it. But they also hit it.
They were like a fucking Pokemon. They was like a Pokemon. They was super rare, and you couldn't find them. But like literally, you could ask Waffles. There was nobody in high school that I remember. That's on my Facebook page right now that were into geek stuff, and if they are, it's because of MCU right now. Yeah, they're into it, but not like hardcore. But they watch the movies, and I don't trip over that.
But you know what, Miao Yin wouldn't be with us if they're if
absolutely.
They weren't real.
No, I'm not saying that. Yeah. No, I'm saying that because I like having conversation with women about geek stuff. Like some of my employees, I had to say that. Are geeks and we just talk about geek stuff. It's dope. Like what do you like? Oh, I like this and this. Oh, damn, me too. Or something new you don't know about, and they express that to you. Like, that's dope as hell. Let me look that up. Just sparring of the minds, as they say, with talking about new stuff that you're not hip to, and you may not be hip to it. You understand? Like, okay, that's cool as hell. So I have to say, back in those days, to me personally, there was nobody into that shit. Like I was into it. I had to hide the geek shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. I was too earnest. I didn't hide it. I was too earnest. I couldn't do it.
I know you were like above everybody.
It has nothing to do with being above everybody. My thing was this. Geeks always got picked on. I was too hyper violent to pick on. Like I was the last person anybody would pick on because I made it known.
When I met this cat,
go ahead.
No, when I met this cat was coming to school dressed to the nines, wearing a freaking Spider-Man tie.
That's beautiful.
He was wearing his senior pictures. He got a pose with Magneto and that one from the Jim Lee X-Men 90s cover.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah. He had that dope. One next to him, superimposed next to him. I was like, dude, this is like the coolest thing ever. and he had all the girls. It didn't matter. Didn't matter.
But that was again, and it comes down to it. What most geeks, especially in high school, lacked was confidence. And for me, it's like if I was going to not necessarily like, look, I like Mortal Kombat, I like Street Fighter, I like video games, I like comics, I like all that stuff. But I'm still going to be an arrogant SOB, even though I like all of this stuff, regardless. So, but the thing is, that gives off for a lot of people, that gives off an air of confidence. So it's like there will be people that would test you, and it's just like, okay, I can still back up any of the junk I talk. So for me, it was like, look, I'm gonna be nerdy and whatever, but if you want to throw down, I'm still gonna throw down with you too. So for me, I never got picked on in high school.
I had little crack babies in my high school.
Wow.
Them. Some of them were fucked up in the head, but it is what it is.
This guy. Wow. Fallen Marvel, we ain't heard from you in a minute. Go ahead, man.
I think GQ wound up hitting the nail on the head. A lot of what I felt during my days in grade school with liking nerd stuff or whatever was the lack of confidence. And I can attest to not having none until maybe like my junior year in high school. So typically that's usually around the time when you really start finding out who you are, is usually between like sophomore and junior year in high school. But it was like up to that point, I pretty much had no confidence. I don't even think, it's a couple of females that like I've known since then that do say that they do like the stuff, most of the geek stuff or whatever now, and it's just one of those things where it was like, you know what, I would have never known. And that has been somewhat of a difficult thing, especially where I grew up, and which was Gary, Indiana, which wasn't the most.
Oh snap!
That wasn't
Freddie Gibbs.
Yeah, it wasn't the most forgiving years during the grade school, liking that stuff. I think like at most, like folks would admit that they was down watching DBZ or whatever, like because just folks beating the hell out of each other. So it was just like, hey, some hyper violence, like they'll admit they'll dig on that, but to really have a conversation like about like the stuff that made our kids, like our childhoods, like what they are, like the David the Gnomes, the Eureka's Castles.
David the
Gnome. I ain't heard that.
Dog.
The Maya the Bees, the Muzzles.
Maya the Bees.
It's like that stuff. When you like little, and then some of the stuff you love like growing up, like like you caught like Eat the Cat. And Tiny Toon Adventures, like whatever stuff like that. The thing is, you bring that up, like they will look at you funny.
Told you them crack babies.
And I was, but I can attest that, like, definitely in part of not really having much confidence, a lot of that stuff I did try to keep to myself as long as I could, which sucked. And the thing is, it really depends on the environment, because like I can't really generalize everyone's experience. Like I can only go by from what I experienced growing up. And the thing is, I know when it comes to like nerd culture stuff or whatever, unless it was like your few things, like your video games, whether it was more or less Mortal Kombat stuff or whatever, like nobody really cared too much about Final Fantasy and stuff. Like very few people did. But stuff like that, or whatever, it's just one of those things where it was kind of impossible to find almost in my area. And plus I didn't really venture out that much or whatever, because I was a very like sheltered kid in a way, so that didn't really help either. So
right.
Yeah.
So how about now? Like, not so much childhood, because I think the question for me is like, yeah, I get it. When you're a kid, you know, you have societal norms that you really, really want to stick into because as kids, until you get to that point where you don't care anymore, kids want to fit in. So that's where it goes into the, oh, you know, I'll pick on, I like this stuff too, but I'll pick on them because I don't want to be ostracized, blah, blah, blah. But as adults, like, where is it come? Because, you know, as a person who was always called a unicorn, I don't understand where this comes from, because I'm just like, either I know all the unicorns or that's not a thing.
It's probably because you knew all the unicorns and us when we, you know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
No.
You know, so you know, we got the accused of, you know, and John P is mentioning it in YouTube right now. He's like, I got the you acting white for liking, you know, for liking, you know, cartoons and comics and Japanese culture and stuff like that.
Yes, we're all, you know,
right. So
that's a different experience altogether. But
yeah.
I mean,
but I was trying to speak on, you know, what it's like. It's almost the flip side now as an adult, right? You know, when we touched on this a little bit earlier, you know, in speaking about the fake, you know, female fan. You know, I think there's a genuine desire for those ones, you know, to find their, you know, their geek soulmate, you know, someone that they can hang out with, and, you know, and have a long, you know, a healthy relationship with that genuinely enjoys the same, you know, and shares the same interests. But, you know, we find it hard to even get past some of their defenses because they've been absolutely bombarded with anybody sliding up in their DMs as soon as they show a hint of liking, you know, geek culture. You know, they've got 200,000 messages on top of the regular messages they would get if they were, you know, moderately attractive in the first place. You know, now we got to deal with, you know, on top of that. So there's a little bit of an extra hurdle there. So they're almost even rare.
What you're saying is this is what happens to you all the time. Like, I don't understand who is this happening to?
What I'm saying is like, you know, for men that are looking for relationships, right? If they might be wanting to try and find someone that may be sharing the same interests as they are, right? A lot of times what we find is that a lot of those girls are already taken. That's number one. Number two, the ones that are still out there, they don't live nearby. Number three, I think the other part of it is that a lot of the women have their defenses up. You know, they don't necessarily want to try and give dudes a chance because they've been bombarded by those really negative dudes that, you know, are gatekeeping.
It could be the approach also, because first impression.
I'm sure it could be. I'm sure it could be the approach as well.
Not only that, I mean, they're taken. It's no matter if they're taken. Are they happy? Are they faithful? that's usually the first two questions that need to be asked. Secondly, if somebody's far away, who gives a damn? I'm sure there's a convention going on in whatever town they live in at some point.
True.
I mean, it's people love to make excuses about why they can't get what they want, and to me, it's like, look, if it's worth going after, go after it. You know, if it lasts, it lasts. If it doesn't, you had a fun experience. I've never let any of that basically stand in the way. Yeah, I never really give away personal information, but somebody that I met that happens to share this, you know, same birthday as I do, has a lot of similarities as me. I have a really great time whenever I visit. So it's like, there's always somebody out there that matches what you want.
Right.
It's just how far are you willing to go to get what you want? And it's almost like you need a geek Tinder. And
almost. Yeah.
But at the same time, even if you get that, you're still going to have those idiots on there that are going to mess it up for everybody else.
Yeah, you know, the dick pic in the DMs, that type of stuff. Yeah.
Well, again, I mean,
which is never a good. Guys, can I do a quick PSA?
Yeah, go ahead.
We
don't like dick pics, and if we ask for one, that's when we want it. Outside of that, Don't send it.
Don't do it.
I don't even understand
I
how the
I don't
unsolicited-
understand the whole.
like,
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's like, how did the trend of the unsolicited dick pic trend begin? Like,
unsolicited.
Here we go. Let's go. Let's strap in. I want to hear this.
Unsolicited is terrible. That's very true. However, comma, damn it, if I'm going to spend any amount of money, time, travel, whatever, I need to see what I am working with when it comes to the female. So if she's not sending me any of that, she's not getting any of me.
But
period.
See, that is a mutual conversation.
Yeah, that's a tit for tat thing.
And all that kind of stuff. Hey, how you doing? Dick pic is not like
right, and that's exactly what it ends up being like. Yeah,
again, but that comes from a sense of desperation and not having any actual confidence. Because again, it goes back to the same thing with females. That's the first thing you see, and they flaunt it and whatever. They're potentially low self-esteem, low confidence, because if that's all you have to offer right up front, then there's not that much else, behind the scenes to get to know or really necessarily care about. So it's kind of, hey, I'm just out here for sex. That's kind of the first throw out, on both sides now, because there's been plenty of people that I've chatted with, and it's just like, okay, well, they sent me a nude. I'm like, I don't really like you that much. I'm just conversating with you.
Right.
So,
and look, when I get unsolicited dick pics, I send pictures of Richard Nixon, and they stop talking to me immediately, which I'm okay with. But,
so you give him a dick for another dick, huh? Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
That's
You're right. That is very interesting.
I match you dick for dick. There you go.
Okay.
I thankfully haven't had to send any Richard Nixon pictures to anybody. Thankfully.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you want to send something shocking, or when people ask for nudes, I send them a picture of all my makeup items that have nude in the title.
There you go.
I mean, you get creative like that. Or I like sending people pictures of Richard Nixon, because I think it's, you're asking me for a picture for what? So I send you a picture. Usually it's Richard Nixon.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, for example, if I am conversating with somebody, you have to send me a real-time picture, though, because otherwise, I'm not necessarily going to continue to conversate and let things get interesting unless I know exactly who I'm talking to.
Which is fair.
I don't know about that.
Why not? I didn't say a nude. I just said a real-time picture.
I don't know. Like, if we're having a conversation about, we're having a deep conversation about the Prisoner of Azkaban, and you're just like, well, show me a picture. I'll see of the Prisoner of Azkaban or something.
No, again, I'm not talking about that type of conversation. I'm saying if the conversation gets deeper than, okay, it was like, but now it's just starting to become personal.
You're establishing a type of relationship or something, and that's I think that's like different.
No relationship. No relationship yet. We're just talking, conversation that's further.
No, yeah. People misunderstand the word relationship. If relationship, it can be anything. Now, there's different degrees of relationships.
Relationship has one meaning.
Show have a relationship.
Mm-hmm. No, relationship has one meaning. We are all friends. That's a whole different thing.
It's friend. You have work relationships. You have friendships. You have. All these different.
I'll have no relationship with anybody I work with. I know better than that.
No. Again, that shows the fundamental misunderstanding of the word relationship. Anyway, we're going way, way off topic now.
No, this is still within the topic, because we're kind of talking about creation of geek Tinder and women fandom. So, I'm
not going to be on geek Tinder.
I didn't say that you need to be on geek Tinder.
Why would you? You're.
I know. I am happily married to my husband, who is
he's an awesome dude, by the way. Yeah, he is an awesome dude. He was willing to even let his wife come up and hang out with us for a weekend, which was pretty awesome.
I am basically married to Captain America.
Yeah, I think she might be. He's black too, so. Black
Yes,
Captain America.
There you go. There you go.
He's black.
Just say it.
Captain America.
The Black
For the
Cap.
win.
Isaiah was it Isaiah Washington?
Bradley.
Yeah, Isaiah Bradley. Yeah, Isaiah Bradley. There you go. Yeah, I just had to throw it out there, that he was black too, just so for those of you that might have been wondering.
In case anybody was wondering, my profile picture on Facebook, both of us are literally in it. So
yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they look so
plot right now. What that mean?
huh?
I don't think that's something I could ever do. I don't think I could ever share my profile picture with anybody.
There's a reason why both of us are in my profile picture right now. It's because it's our anniversary month.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying I personally don't think I could ever share my profile picture with anybody. I don't even think they can get my cover photo now that I'm thinking about it.
This guy.
This
guy. Oh man.
No. When I'm married, even
when he's married,
even if I ever got married, I don't think I could share my profile picture.
Now see,
with nobody.
he and we could take it a step further. I'm definitely I could share my profile picture with my wife, but I ain't sharing no damn Facebook profile with her. Forget it.
Why?
That ain't happening.
Talking about sharing one profile?
Yeah, dude, man.
Oh,
Look, man. There's plenty of them out there like that. It's always the ones that got caught cheating.
Look, the thing is,
on Facebook, and the wife is like, no. You either share a Facebook profile with me or you don't have nothing. And them dudes agree to it. So
ladies out there.
Different strokes
one
for
of the
different
things
folks.
you have to have in a relationship is autonomy.
I agree with that. Go ahead with your question, GQ. What was you gonna ask?
I was going to throw this out there for the ladies that are watching and possibly in the chat. Why is it that we have to put the joint? No, yeah. Why do we have to share the profile picture? Because I've seen a lot of guys that are in relationships on Facebook where their picture is like them shared with their girl or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then you go to the girl's page and the guy ain't really on
there at all. I know.
So it's like. Why am I going to give up my precious internet real estate with my fabulous, awesome picture and extremely creative cover page?
Some of them women really like the attention. That's all I can say. So if they give the illusion of being single, then they can still get the attention. That's all I gotta say about that.
That goes both.
No. I'm speaking. No.
No, that goes both ways.
That goes both ways. Really?
Yeah.
That goes both ways. Because I know there are folks who, that just goes both ways.
No.
Yeah.
You don't have to name no names.
Right. You ain't got to name no names. Absolutely.
Explanation.
I will speak for myself. Usually, my profile picture is me. Our anniversary month. We're coming up on our first wedding anniversary. It's our wedding picture.
Okay.
He, on the other hand, he's always had people in his profile picture. He's always done that. That's just not a thing I generally do. But for me, I'm just like, it's my profile.
Okay, so it sounds to me like you're making a concession and you're trying to get all sorts of like brownie points for making a change to what you normally wouldn't do. Because you sound like you kind of like, hubby, I made a sacrifice and I usually don't even put nobody else in my profile. So that's what it sounds like you're doing.
Your spouse is not a sacrifice.
I don't know. For me, marrying somebody, that's not even a sacrifice. That's like a gift to somebody.
A gift.
I'm going to take time out of my day.
I cannot.
I'm just saying. And then like you want the profile picture too? Come on now. You already got half of me.
Choice.
That matter of fact, I ain't gonna spin the camera around, but like all of that stuff that's sitting there in front of me right now. Now all of a sudden, half of that technically in your mind is yours.
No.
So that's a gift.
Hey. I'm not gonna say. With the most public version of this, and Shinlo put this out there. in the Facebook chat. She said he might be. He says he's accusing me of talking to maybe one Miss Aisha Curry, who kind of put it out there that she misses kind of getting the attention from the dudes. Sliding in her DMs and all that. Like she even put out a report today. She was like, "Oh man, I hope nobody gets hold of my nude photos that didn't nobody know anything about. Almost like making sure that people are gonna go find said nude photos."
People look. Sometimes people want attention, and that goes. Look, can I bring up a man named Tyrese Gibson who just threw things out there for attention? If Aisha Curry wants to talk about that, and people decide to go, fine.
A lot of actors are narcissists, and he's definitely one of them. So
I've met the man. It's oof.
You met the man? I'm sorry.
Okay, but there's nothing wrong with being narcissistic. I mean, there has its qualities and its points. It has its perks. It has its perks now. Don't knock it till you try it. It has its perks.
I don't think that's a thing that you just try.
You can. You can.
He's like, yeah, you
can. You can just take it on the test drive for a weekend and then come back.
You'd be surprised how easy it is to slip into narcissism. You'd be surprised.
I wouldn't know where to start.
You can slip right in and out.
Yep, sure could.
First of all, here's how you start. Just know that
lessons in narcissism. I love this.
Right, this right awesome. Now just have to accept that you are the shit. Period. You are that deal.
That doesn't make you a narcissist.
But you. I just said that's how you start. I didn't say that was all of it. I just said that's how you start. You have to understand, bar none, no matter what you do.
Next chapter, like.
Oh no! Like I said, we're gonna ease you into this because it's like I said, you're gonna spend a weekend as a narcissist, and you're gonna come back and you're gonna report and be like, "Hey, I had fun. That was awesome." And then you're gonna turn it off if you can, because it's gonna be hard to let go once you start down the dark path. Forever will it dominate your destiny.
I need to figure out if I'm already a narcissist, because right now I got one checkbox.
What's that?
What he just said.
She already knows that she's that deal. Right.
She is that deal. I concur.
Right, exactly. So you already got one there, so you're good.
Awesome.
I concur.
So, there you go. So it's nothing wrong with it. You have to understand that that's a good thing. But back to this Facebook thing, though, for real. Like I'm trying to understand.
You didn't go through the things. You got to go through.
No.
So if it's
I'm not giving away all the secrets on the show. Are you kidding me? No way. That's a conversation for after the show, possibly.
Right.
Maybe we'll think about it. But back to here's one thing that bugs me about women, and this is shouldn't be a complaint, but it is a complaint. One thing about women in fandom, and why sometimes y'all get a bad rap, because certain women in fandom and also on Facebook and a lot of social media do this. They'll be on there, they'll post their picture, they had a little caption under there, how do I look, or blah, 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 right? When you get compliments from various people, they'll be like nice, not over the top compliments. It'll be, you look lovely, eyes look great, blah, blah, blah. From the guys, nothing. No, just radio silence, don't want to say nothing. No thank you, no nothing, no like, just nothing. The second a female comes in there and says, hey, I really like how that dress, accents your eyes or whatever. Full-on conversation, they come out of the hibernation. It's just like, next, just back and forth. Thank you, this and that. I'm just like I could have sworn there was 900 plus, maybe even 1,000, going on close to 2,000 comments from other people, respectful, giving you giving you your props and your compliments. The second one female comes in there, all of a sudden, here you go, you can type again. I'm like, okay, I don't get it. That's I never do that. When I put a picture up, people compliment, I respond to everybody because, damn it, that's what you do. Can you explain that for me, please?
Maybe that was the first compliment. Maybe that's the first one she saw.
That post been up. Some of them posts been up for like a couple of hours.
But you don't you don't always get notifications. So on my phone, I don't get Facebook notifications. I don't get Instagram notifications.
You've done that to people, haven't you?
Huh?
You've done that to people, haven't you? You went through all the guys' compliments and then you look nice and blah blah blah, and found that one female that was like, "Hey."
About me. So sometimes when you open it up, you see the first you see the last person who has commented.
Mm-hmm.
That happens to be another, woman.
You sure about that?
Then
Because I've seen many of females in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that, and it's a pattern.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand.
I don't know this pattern that you're talking about. I've never seen it.
Okay, remember my most remember Canada? Like, she was notorious for doing stuff all the time.
I don't know who Canada is.
Okay, I'll tell you after the show.
Yeah. Also, let's see. And I didn't necessarily say, here's what I don't like about women. I didn't say that. I just said what bothers me in the regard of this whole social media thing. Also, Hand of Omega was asking, what cologne do I recommend? I don't give out recommendations to men because that's weird and y'all can't be having my secrets. I'm just going to let you know that right now. But if you watch, I'll give you a small hint. If you watch the second Fantastic Four movie, there is a name of a particular company dropped by Johnny Storm, Chris Evans himself, that will give you a clue as to what cologne I do in fact wear. I'll leave it at that.
Hey, I said he should get Pursuit.
Armani Code is good. That's a good one.
I said he should get Pursuit from that's Pepe Le Pew's scented.
Why are you giving advice?
What?
Wait, what?
Why are you giving advice for that? That's terrible.
Why shouldn't I give advice? He has an open question. I can answer the question.
Yeah, we do have to answer questions.
That's true.
That's kind of part of the thing.
Question. That was a terrible answer.
Was that a terrible answer?
Right. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Pepe Le Pew is like the most legendary romantic in cartoon history. My
No.
man never, ever gave up. He always got her.
That's called a stalker.
Oh, that's the role model you want to celebrate, my guy.
Pepe Le Pew
is a profile and stalker.
No,
man,
Pepe Le Pew was already. Pepe Le Pew was actually on Trump's level with that whole. I just kissed them and they.
God damn!
No,
damn,
dude. How many times did he just grip up that female cat and just go to kissing? Every single time he saw her, there is only one episode where she was down for it. One. I don't know how many Pepe Le Pew cartoons there were, but let's just and if you put it in a ratio, it's a whole bunch of like sexual assault to one. So, and I think that was Stockholm syndrome at that point. She was just like, damn, I'm starting to like it a little bit, whatever. But no, Pepe Le Pew was a
I'm loving the comments right now. Kahuna's like, Pepe was a fucking rapist.
He was.
Yes.
Pepe was like, there was, dude, I don't know what you're talking about romance, dude. There was no willingness there at all. She was trying to. She
came around. She came around. She came around by the end. She broke. He broke her down just like Urkel broke down Laura in the end. Broke her down.
Urkel, first of all, Urkel was a fool. He should have went with that one that liked him already.
Hell yeah, Myra was so much hotter. Way hotter. Way hotter.
Myra was the unicorn back in the day.
Yes, she was.
She liked all the same stuff that Steve liked.
And she was genuine.
Yeah. So
that's the unicorn. So it's the woman who likes who likes the guy. Or
no. If that's the case,
you have no interest in them whatsoever.
No. I guess so, because for me, I was like, I would usually date women that either had some interest in it or damn it, they had interest in me and they was gonna fake it until they started to like what I like, because I didn't really care one way or the other. It's like, look, I'm going to be me. Exactly. I'm going to be me, and you can either roll with it or I will let you off on this stop and I will find the next one.
And honestly, that's kind of the way a way a lot of men should look at it instead of getting fixated on someone that just isn't into them or isn't into the things that they like. Stop wasting time with them. Go out there and find the one that is worth your time.
Hold on. Weren't you just the one advocating the Pepe Le Pew style?
Look, man, y'all can't detect sarcasm. My God. Come on now. Y'all can't detect, man. Come on. Y'all can't detect sarcasm, man. Please,
sir. You digged yourself a hole in that one.
No, I did not. Just because y'all can't detect sarcasm, that ain't my fault. That's your fault.
I feel like it's gonna be your new fifth element.
Whoa! Oh, we going there, are we? Oh, okay. I see how it is now. All right.
Hey, you get this to yourself, just like you get the fifth element to yourself.
Okay. I'm gonna start a relief fund for all the women that have been, because let's see, Shindo has brought it up. He said usually a lot of these women aren't happy with the so-called guy that they got that was a geek, and he hasn't touched the controller since the 90s. I think we're gonna start a relief fund for all the females out there that are like thought you had a good geek guy, but like didn't end up with a good geek guy because he was faking the funk. So. Yep. We're gonna have to like find a, maybe it'll be a support group or something. We might get that started up.
Yeah,
and they will work on Geek Tinder at the same time. So
Yeah, Geek Tinder sounds like is like a thing. Although they have a few geek dating sites, but they really ain't all that good. They really ain't all that good.
That we run.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the one that we run will be authentic. With a rigorous profile thing. Yes.
Verification. No, it's not, because then that's gatekeeping.
That's gatekeeping. Yes.
There will be various levels of, I don't know, interaction. I guess because it's going.
It could easily be like eHarmony. So you answer all these questions.
eHarmony for geeks. I love this idea.
It's gotta. But you gotta pay. But you gotta pay to get it to that premium though. You can't just come on in.
That's how eHarmony is. You have you get your free profile, but if you want the good stuff, you got to pay.
No, I get that, but like I don't want it to be just a sense of, is it okay? It's gonna be almost like the club, because how the club, all the women get in for free and all the guys got to pay usually.
Oh yeah.
So
depending on the club.
No, this one is like, damn it, everybody gonna pay at some point something, because I didn't want it to be a whole bunch of women just up in there just sitting around.
So
waiting.
eHarmony.
I'm just saying.
eHarmony, everybody has to pay. It's not like, what is it? I don't know those other sites
Well, first of all, I've seen commercials for eHarmony. That's about as far as I've ever gone, and I've seen them have free women days on some of them commercials. So I ain't trying to hear that everybody has to pay.
It's called advertisements.
Yeah, but again, and granted, it is the club style where you get all the women in and the guys will come.
Look, back in the day, I was on eHarmony. Terrible experience, but
on purpose?
It happens. Yeah.
You weren't like doing it for a class, just to like do it like an experiment or something?
No.
How did that work out?
Terribly.
Yeah, I don't know. See, that's the thing. That's a whole nother thing. It's like I put some of my pictures are just too intoxicating. I ain't trying to get all them stalkers.
Wow. Here we go. Here we go.
And that's a true possibility on eHarmony.
Yeah. So and plus that old dude that advertises it is so creepy, man. Like, I don't want him pimping.
I don't think he's doing it anymore. I think they got somebody else.
We could have a better system than eHarmony, but the fact is that they did at least do a good thing. The one good thing I can say about eHarmony is that they get people matched up by interest.
Yeah.
So if it's like by geek culture and stuff like that, then you have somebody who is more in your spectrum.
They definitely provided the blueprint. I'm with it.
But here's the issue, and again, we're not even discuss this, but you know how many different fandoms there are out there? Like that list is gonna be like 180 to 200 pages long. Yeah, that's gonna be ridiculous. There's gonna be a lot of questions.
Well, see, that's you can do it in a way that it's just like, okay, you answer a certain way and it whittles down. So you're not answering all of these questions, but it's just like, oh, I've whittled down to this side, or I've whittled down to I like Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, but here's the thing. profile picture is a must. None of them fake empty profiles.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yes. If you ain't posting a picture, forget about it.
Well, that's where paying comes in, because if you have to pay, then you have profile pictures.
Catfishing
hold on. No, let's go a step further. It has to be a profile video. Then you can't catfish.
Unless they know the catfisher.
Nah. You do a profile video.
Right then and there.
Right then and there, holding up your little thing. That's you, and then blah blah blah.
Oh, verification. Like that.
Yeah.
Like that. Yes,
Yeah.
the verification. Yes.
Yeah.
Like that. Absolutely.
eHarmony has verification as well.
Yeah, but not really.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, but not really.
No.
And people be lying on eHarmony too. Though.
They sure do.
I mean, it's certain things people are gonna lie with. They're gonna give away with lying. Period.
Matter of fact, you give me your gamer tag, and then we start playing the game, and then we can like FaceTime on the on the thing, and see, that'd be the perfect way to like figure out if somebody's real.
That sounds like an episode of SVU that I've seen before.
It probably is.
Yeah.
Or
It probably is.
Or Black Mirror.
Oh, the first episode, yes. Anyway, guys, it's been a great past couple hours for talking to you. We're gonna wrap up the show now and let you go about the rest of your week and get ready for next week. Next week's show, we're celebrating all of our favorite scores in everything, really, whether it be TV shows, movies, music. We're gonna give a little bit of love to all the unsung heroes out there, which are the composers of some of our favorite musical moments in film and genre entertainment. So be sure to join us next week, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, for the next episode of Culture Junkies Live, which is all about the music. Any final comments before we break out of here, guys?
Yes. Don't forget, on Friday, we're going to be bringing back talking about a bunch of things on the
League of Extraordinary Fangirls. Come on. Not even my show, and I know it. Jesus. My goodness.
The League of Extraordinary Fangirls this Friday on YouTube. Check us out.
What time?
Party with us at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Oh, so I'll be back for the end game.
Come party with us on Friday on YouTube. The League of Extraordinary Fangirls.
So now we know why you're not going to see Fan Endgame. You're setting up a show. Okay.
Got it. Anyway, guys.
See the movie,
I'm still
yes,
not
you really
going
should.
to see Endgame.
Yes, you should. Pay your money to go see Endgame this weekend.
You pay some money for me to go to see Endgame. I'm not going to go.
No, you need to pay the money.
I paid for you to go see John Wick, so you got to go see Endgame.
There you go.
You did.
Pay it forward.
I love John Wick. It's so amazing. So that means I have to pay for somebody else to go see.
Pay for yourself this time.
Pay for yourself
this time.
I will not go see it. I'm not going to see it.
Is Warren in town? Take him to go see it. He needs to go see it again.
He is not in town.
So go get him and take him to go see it. There you go.
He's working. That is not how that works.
He needs a break. He's a hard-working man. He needs a break. He needs a break. Go get him. Well, break him out of whatever duty and take him on. Talk to Congress about that. Yeah, that's not a fight you want to have. Anyway, guys, for all of my friends like Fallen Marvel, Super Nerd Plus, Miayin, and GQ, I am Kishiro. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend.
Good night.
Later, folks.